So I do have a presentation for you, but that's not really what I wanted to do, was give a presentation. I want this to be a question and answer, but I feel like there have been a lot of chatter on Facebook, and so I've tried to put this information together based on the questions that were, or the comments that were shared with me on Facebook. And so as we go through this information, if you have a question, please just wave at me. We have a microphone. David has it. That we will. I promise I don't hold grudges. So if you think that this will offend me, it won't, because I really just want to be transparent, and I have from day one wanted to be, and I don't know that people really want transparency, because I feel like the more transparent we have been, the more people attack. And we really are not trying to hide anything. It's just, it is what it is. So we will, if that's good with y'all, we can just go ahead and let me just kind of lay out what I think that people want to hear based on the comments that we have, and feel free to stop me anytime that we're here or going through. So the first thing, lots of confusion about sales tax versus millage. So we are just trying to renew 40-year-old millages that have been on the books. And so they're dedicated to the property taxes. They're not sales tax. We tried the sales tax in the fall, and that was for extra. That was just trying to provide opportunities for our kids, because we see all around us that things are going up and opportunities. We tried that because when I went to people, they were like, oh, sales tax is fair for everybody. Obviously, that was a big flop. Cried for weeks and weeks over that big flop. Did not pan out. This is not a sales tax. This is a renewal for property tax. It has been in place as far back as we have looked for at least 40 years. And so it's a stable, dedicated funding source for our schools, operations, and infrastructures. And so we just looked at, just for general population, so people understand how property millages are calculated. And so we looked up what is the average cost of a home in Caldwell Parish, and it's about $140,000, is according to Google. And bankers in here may know something different, but because we're in Louisiana, you've got a $75,000 homestead exemption. You take that $140,000 primary residence if you live there. It's assessed at 10%, which is $14,000. Take off the $7,500. You're assessed at $6,500, and if you look at this, y'all, we're talking about $108.62 annually. That's all we're asking for these two millages, and so that's not a lot of money. And if you don't own property, then you're not even paying any of this, and you still do get to vote, which is why people liked the idea of a sales tax, because it was, and that's just a whole nother argument there. So that's what we're talking about. Of course, if you don't live on the property, then you don't get this homestead exemption, and of course, several of us have timberland or businesses, and so you're paying the full amount. But even at that, we're talking about $334 annually. Some of you have that you take in escrow, and you pay that out monthly. And so if you take that amount divided by 12, we're not talking about a whole lot of money. And this is our public. This is our kids, our education, our workforce. And how many of you are depending on our future workforce? Absolutely. I know I am, as superintendent, and business owners in here. I plan on growing old here. I want them to take care of me as I grow old. So I know you are too, and that is the moral dilemma that I have as the leader of the school system, is I have an obligation to make sure that this school system puts out a workforce that is prepared and ready to work for our community. So to me, this is a small ask for our community, that we all come together and pay for their education. So where does the money go for that comes out of our millages? Utilities, maintenance and repairs, building upkeep, bus transportation, daily operating costs. That's where this money goes. Next slide. So I put this slide on here just to let you know, we've known for a while that we're struggling with our general fund. And I'm going to get into some slides that tell you why that is. All the while knowing that, we have a team of educators who have been working tirelessly to just build a good, solid system for our community. And I wanted to share, I mean, we have a world competing robotics program. We have CTE classes. We have students with disabilities who have opportunities that are, I mean, like the state comes in and they're sending people to come look at what we're doing. And then we have, you know, our speech squad is are competing at the national level. Our band is growing, our baseball team is performing. But when you look at these results, our teachers, we're recognized at the state level for the performance in our classrooms. Our LEAP results, all that green is growth. Our early childhood, our literacy, all the programs that we are doing, we are putting the work in, and that's been our whole goal is let's continue providing opportunities for our kids, even though we know we're struggling, because the better school system we have, the more opportunities we have for our kids, we can attract more kids, and the only way to get more kids is to have thriving programs. That was our goal, and it's not working. It doesn't matter how strong it is or how strong your school system is. It's almost like, it's not almost, it feels like public education is under attack. And if you look out there in the state of Louisiana with the Gator program, with the onslaught of homeschool, it doesn't matter these things. And so I just say that to let you know, we've seen this coming, but we've been trying all the while to continue to make our programs grow. And so the current fiscal landscape is gloom. We do have a 700,000 plus deficit that we're addressing. Part of that is because of the enrollment decline, and part of that is because of operational inflation. Any questions so far?
I'm telling the truth.
I'm telling the truth. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Getting a little winded. So our enrollment is declining despite the fact that we feel like, and our state has recognized that we are doing a dang good job with our kids. Operational inflation, fixed costs keep going up in our schools, while our funding has remained stagnant. So here is our enrollment trends back since 2009. And if you'll see, it's pretty much been consistent, a couple of dips in there. And we rocked along from 09. 2020, we were probably at our highest, and then we have struggled since then to keep kids. And I don't know how long we can keep blaming COVID, but y'all, it ruined us. It ruined us as a society because it changed the way people think about public education. And so from that point on, we lost kids, we started thinking differently. Back in 23, we saw a little bit of a rise in 24, and that is the year that we restructured, and so we did see a little bit of growth there. We were thinking at this point, we're getting ready for Louisiana Greenfields, that's when all the things were happening. We were thinking, oh, we're about to have a big expansion, so let's get ready for that. And then all of a sudden, the Gator bill passes, and all of a sudden, it's just a huge decline. So if you see, since 2016-50, we've dropped 300 kids. That is a lot of kids. And so with that, we've lost a lot of funding. And I showed you 2 slides back all the wonderful things we've got going on, so I can't say that it's anything that our schools are doing wrong. So at this point, I just want to bring up how schools are funded. I color-coded this because that's what teachers do. We do have some revenue sources, and David, you may want to pipe in on some of this. But the red sources are the major funding sources. So we have our local taxation, which is our property taxes, and then our state funding. And so the property taxes they're consistent. You want to talk?
I can. What? Yep. I'll just speak from down here.
That's fine.
Last year, property taxes were $2,228,000 out of our $15 million. So that's, I don't know, I'm trying to do the math in my head. Not quite 10%. And MFP, which is going off on another tangent, was close to $12 million. And then the other items are pretty remotely small.
So the green ones are the other stable funding sources, but they are small. So you've got your 16th section, which is the income that we have from the land that we own, and the revenue sharing. So you want to talk about just those, how small?
Yeah, revenue sharing is just some slush, I hate to say slush fund out loud, but it's some slush fund that the state of Louisiana pays to each parish. And then it goes to the sheriffs, and then the sheriffs pays it out to the school boards.
And how much is that?
About 30 grand.
30 grand in the whole scheme of things.
Right, not a big number.
And then the 16th section?
30,000 in the general fund, and there's 30,000 in the maintenance fund.
Okay.
So 60 in total.
Okay. And then the 16th section?
That's around $10,000.
So $10,000 in the 16th section there. So that's, yeah, not a lot of money. So the blue, those areas are what we work our behinds off for. So that is what I want. So a lot of the flack that I catch is that we're top heavy in the school board office. I have heard all sorts of things about how many people work and how they should be in classrooms, and how many vehicles are in the school board office, and how many, all the things. So just to kind of talk about that, administrative recovery, this is all of the grants that we write. David, do you have the amount of grants?
Yeah, this year we'll get around $224,000. Last year was $309,000. That's just the
indirect costs.
Yeah, that's indirect costs.
So what's the total number of grant money that we brought in?
Let's see. I do have that. In fiscal year 24, go ahead, 25. Yeah, fiscal year 25, we have $5.5 million.
So $5.5 million is how much grant money we have written for. So when you think about how do you go out and get more money, it takes a lot of work to go out and get more money, because we know we're not getting it in general fund, and we know that we're limited in your property tax millages. You're not going to get MFP, so you've got to go work hard to get that, because our kids deserve. We know we're not getting it here, so let's go work for it. So one of those grants, of course, Head Start, I'm looking, I just see Monica. Monica works her tail off for the Head Start grant, okay? It's constant, working on making sure we have programs for our 3-year-olds, LA4 for our 4-year-olds, 8G, am I missing any? Title I, okay? So the majority, and y'all, most places don't have universal pre-K for their kids. Every one of our 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds had the opportunity for free school. That doesn't happen everywhere, but it happens here in Caldwell because we have people who work their behinds off for it. Okay, so that's one. Our federal programs, Title I money. So all of our federal programs that we have, they pay for literacy integrationists. So the people that we think are the assistant principals at the elementary schools are not really. They are literacy integrationists who are supporting teachers, and those are paid out of federal grants. We have paraprofessionals at each school that are paid out of those federal grants. Another grant that we have is Miss Maria Guerrero is a literacy specialist, and she has bounced from one grant to another and written herself another grant, and then read another grant to pay for 6 additional positions. And so there are literacy interventionists at each school that are providing the literacy interventions for our kids so that we are able to teach them to read and provide these opportunities for. So all those grants pay for other positions that we would not have or be able to afford if we didn't. But not only that, it brings in indirect costs that go directly to our general fund. And what number was that?
5.5 million.
Yes.
And
So
that number was 3.1 million in 2020. That was not COVID money.
so
We grew 2.4 million.
we've grown 2.4 million. So I say all that just to let you know, it's generating more money because we know we don't have it on that side there. So it's not just sitting up there drawing a salary, you know, to take away from kids. It's trying to provide opportunities for our kids. The other ones that we have are the specialized state aid, high cost revenue, and Medicaid reimbursement. You want to come talk a little bit? Yeah.
She said no, but she is.
Yeah, I said that. I think the most important thing about these grants is these are things that we have to provide for students, but when I say it takes every single person in my office to pull these grants off, I mean, I'm looking at Carlo right now because like some of these pieces have a huge business end on them too. And y'all, sometimes we spend weeks at a time for $10,000. And you know, somebody asked me the other day, is this really worth it? And I was like, yeah, it's $10,000 we didn't have last week. So, you know, you just don't understand for some of these amounts of money that $10,000 required 2 people to spend every single day of the school year doing documentation, and then people in my office had to process that documentation, and then it went to business office that had to process that documentation. So we are spending a lot of time that the school system hasn't necessarily had to spend in the past writing a lot of these grants like high cost and really maximizing that Medicaid revenue, because we are trying to get every single dollar back that the state or the federal government has out there for people who are willing to do the work to apply for it.
And then the last one is the financial assets interest revenue. So this is something that right before I became the superintendent, in an audit, at that time, the business manager was not David, but was also the payroll clerk. And at that point, we got into some trouble, and they were like, it can't be the same person. And so their recommendation was that we hire an additional payroll clerk in the school board office to do that. And so at that time, we created another position for that person to handle all the payroll. I honestly don't know how one person did both jobs beforehand, but since that has happened, yeah, it was Lauren. Yeah, it was Lauren. I have no idea how you did it. No idea. But now that it is, what that has freed up David to be able to do you want to talk about what you do?
Yeah. Back whenever Lauren was business manager and had too many hats going on, she didn't have a whole lot of time to invest money. Fiscal year 16, we had, I don't know, around $3 million in CDs, and we made $14,000. You know, fiscal year 20, we were at $47,000. Fiscal year 23, we finally were able to create money markets where we could, and that got us to $135,000. In the full year, fiscal year 24, we were at $281,000. So I mean, we went from $14,000 to $281,000 because we had more time in the business office to do our jobs. So that was how we ended up with payroll clerk.
Well, the aha moment for me was that he's able to generate more than enough money to pay for the payroll clerk's salary, and able to do that, and that brings in more money. And I'm just saying, all of that is additional, because none of that is general fund money. All of that is aside from, but I'm just letting you know that when the optics are out there, it looks like we have all this fluff, but all that fluff is grants. All that fluff is extra. It's not general fund. And so it's very misleading, and people who don't live in our world don't understand. So now that I've said that is a lot of information, are there any questions?
Nikki,
Yes.
you said 5.5 million in 2025 you applied for.
Mhm.
How much of that did you actually receive?
All of it.
Okay.
Every bit of it. And we don't leave a penny on the table.
All right. So, well, I guess what I'm getting at is this. In 2025 you applied. Was the money actually collected in 2025, or was it collected the next year?
We collected quarterly. We collect it quarterly.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as the quarter ends, we get everything out, and our goal is to get everything back by the 15th of the month.
Well, I will say this, that's way better than the other grants that I know of that have been applied for. It takes a while to get them. If you get them quarter, that's outstanding.
We also, and that's Janice and Miss Laura over Title I. I mean, they might have it on the second, third, fourth, fifth, and then we request money, and then we get our money back.
And Carla.
Oh,
And Carla.
I'm sorry. Hey, Carla.
Chopped liver.
Check has to go out the door.
Yeah.
But you're still having to spend money this quarter that you're not collecting until the next quarter. So you're actually having to spend currently future money, but you have expenses that don't go away. So, I mean, I understand that. I mean, it's just, you never get the whole bill because you're going forward, trying to get that part of it. I was curious, but that's outstanding. You get the quarter.
And there's one whole wing of the central office that does nothing but money. And so that is also misleading when people say there are so many people at the central office. They're getting people paid, they're taking care of insurance, they're getting the checks written, they're reconciling, they're getting the quarterly. I mean, there's a lot of financial stuff that takes place in the central office.
That's 3 people.
That's 3 people. Okay, right there. And then one whole wing is people appraisal, like that Ms. Meredith was talking about there. So there's just that misconception out there. So just trying to clear that up. But great question. Any others? I feel like I've talked a lot. Okay. You ready to move on from this slide? Okay. So this is the real problem. The real problem's in Baton Rouge. In 2009, we have not received an increase in our MFP, which is our Minimum Foundation Program funding from the state since 2009. We're supposed to get an increase every year, but we don't, because every year Bessie sends a request to the legislator, and the legislature rejects it to Bessie, and they blame each other back and forth. And so it stands still and we don't get the increase. So if you look at this, since 2009, our purchasing power has gone down. Now, the number fluctuates around that $8,000 mark, but what we've learned this year is that, like, we just got surprise. In February, we got, what is that? How much is that?
246.
Huh?
$246 less.
$246 less per student. Well, if you think about how many students we have, that was a...
$331,000, and it's never fallen like that. It's always gone up a little bit. There was 1 or 2 years where it did come down a little, but I'm talking about $10 or $12, not $246.
And so we got hit with that. We had a call last week, and I understood nothing more after the call than I did before the call. They can't explain it. Just that you lost kids, and so you lost money. Even more frustrating was to find out that they take the total number of students who are educated in Caldwell Parish, and they break them up if you're educated in a building and you're educated not in a building. And so if there are students who are in Caldwell Parish who are attending like the University View, the online school, they're funded at $900 more per student than we are. I know, pick your chin up. I was not happy. And that was very frustrating because I'm like, you don't pay for transportation, you don't pay for there's no overhead whatsoever, but they were funded more than what we're funded per student. And they couldn't explain it to us.
And back on that, we're supposed to be getting that 2.75% increase every year. If they just would have funded 0.5% every year, we would have an extra $1 million right now, every year. If it was 1%, we'd have an extra $2.1 million on top of what we get, which is around $11 million. I mean, that's our budget deficit right there.
Yes.
So we're using $2,009 to pay for 2026 expenses.
So are you saying that different schools get different MFP money? I never knew that.
Yes.
I just thought it was general across the board.
There's like, how many pages is it?
I don't know. It's some insane.
It's like 60-something pages long, the formula. It is almost impossible to figure out. And he was trying to walk us through why our number changed, and he showed me that column, and I saw, and I was like, wait a second, why do they get $900 more? And he kind of was like, oh, but they don't. And I said, it looks like they do. And he said, I know it looks like it, but they don't. And I was like, but it looks like they do, you know, and we just kind of flip-flopped over. And he said, well, you just got less because you have less kids. And I was like, but it looks like you hit me twice. You hit me because we lost kids, and then it was a double whammy because we lost kids. And that number, it fluctuates, and it looks like it's not a big number, but when you multiply that times 1,300 kids, it is a huge number, you know. And so, yes. It's not the same, and it has to do with your local wealth, and it has to do with your property taxes and all that big formula. But it's not the same number for every kid.
Vicki, can I ask?
Yes.
I was reading something not long ago about some of this stuff, and I was just curious. The parents that choose their children to go to school somewhere else, and I'm not putting them in any other schools. I think everybody has a right to if they want. But if a child starts the calendar year in January, let's say they go to one of the other private schools that are here and all. Let's say they're there from 5 to 6 months, okay? And they decide that at that point, it's not what I wanted, I want to come here. Does this school, they don't recover that money, do they? It goes to the other school, and that kid comes here basically with no revenue to school at all, correct?
Correct.
That's what I thought I read, okay.
Yeah, correct.
But I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Wherever the child is on October 1 is where the money goes. And then they make an adjustment on February 1 based on your enrollment, correct, David? Mm-hmm.
So, I guess to really say in layman's terms, even though this is a public school and people feel like they're getting a free education, that is a free education at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It is true.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good question.
How many kids did you lose this year?
50. On that other slide. You can go back. Right here. From 1357 to 1301, 56.
You can take that number and multiply it by the 7,900?
Yeah.
That is,
A lot of money. Yeah.
Where are they all going?
So, some are moving out of state, some are moving to other school districts, some are dropping to homeschool. And that is, and some, it's a touchy subject for us because, I mean, I have friends who homeschool their kids, and there are some people who do it well. And it fits for their family, and it is the right thing. But I'm gonna be honest, there are a lot of people who don't. And so anytime there's pressure put on, you know, or something doesn't go their way, or they don't like something, they just, well, we'll just drop to homeschool. And so a lot of these kids are unaccounted for, and we don't know what's going on. The economy is tough right now. A lot of our families are working off, and so we may drop to homeschool so we can go off to work with dad, you know, so those things happening as well. It's times are tough right now, and so, you know, they're going, we try, and we try to recruit them back, and we're trying to, if there's anything we can do, and it kind of puts you over a barrel, for sure.
No accountability.
And there is no accountability for anyone who leaves, and that's with the Gator program and with SNU, is that there is no accountability with any other program, which is frustrating. You know, some people don't want their kids to take a test. They don't want their kids to be involved in any kind of curriculum, so we'll choose our own. It's just, you know, that's just kind of the world that we're living in, and at this point, I read an article this week that sometimes the narrative is that if you're a good Christian family, then you should choose something besides public education. And that is not necessarily the narrative everywhere, you know. I feel like we have a good, solid, I just showed you the results. We have a good, solid public education system here. So it's a hard narrative to fight. So, anything else? I know, toilet paper. Vanna's moving me on. So, it's okay. So, we're just trying to bring it to real life. So, we're working on numbers from 2009. And so, we all buy toilet paper, okay? And so, we were just like, let's think about if we were still living on our 2009 paycheck. And how much did a case of toilet paper cost in 2009? $42. In 2026, $68.50. Think about toilet paper there, but think about it for a school system. How much toilet paper you go through there and how much you're buying. I know as a principal, when I was buying copy paper for my teachers, everybody got a case of copy paper in August and a case of copy paper in January. It used to cost $29.50 per case, now it's $62 per case. And that's on the same amount of money. So when you're looking at just those numbers, when you don't have an increase in revenue, but your expenses have gone up, what does that look like? You know, and so we just brought it down. That was Melinda's idea. She said, you gotta make it real, Nikki.
Utilities.
And that's coming. So that's just that. So we started comparing just our numbers from 2009 to 2025. And so with our maintenance, just escalating maintenance, our transportation and fleet, we have to have it. In 2009, our expenditures were $60,000 and some odd, $322,000 in 2025 on the same budget. James, you want to say anything about this?
I mean, it's just like, I think I'm loud enough. We're still kind of living in the 2020 COVID epidemic, if you want to say. The prices of everything have steadily gone up every single year. I can tell you right now, just off the top of my head, with fuel last month was $20,000 on buses. Now that's the buses running kids to school, from school, or athletic trips, or field trips, you name it. That is steadily gone up. I mean, we've all are affected right now by the price of fuel. With bus repairs, most of our buses, if there's major repairs that have to be done to them, we have to send them back to the dealer to be worked on. Those prices as far as labor have gone up from, like when I first started 4 years ago, was like about $100 an hour. It's $165 an hour now on labor. So we've drastically seen a major increase just over my 4 years of being in this department with the prices of supplies, parts, labor, and then trying to get parts here. You know, there's still shipping issues all across the United States, all across the world, and the shipping costs are steadily going up too.
And we don't have an option on not using them.
That's correct, yeah. We have no option on you know, who we can send that bus to. If it's a lease bus, it's got to go back to the main dealer.
You may want to speak about the cost of a new bus to leasing a new bus.
Okay, yeah, the cost of a new bus.
Brand spanking new bus with, you want to say less than 100 miles on it, is roughly $250,000. Used buses, if you can find one that was a lease bus at a previous school, they turned it back in, now that dealership is trying to sell it, we did do that a couple of years ago. We purchased a couple of used buses that were low mileage. If you want to say 20,000, 25,000 is low mileage, well, that is on a school bus. We got those, I think, at about 184. That was two. That's two buses. So we got them about $80,000 a piece. And that's fully equipped. That's air-conditioned buses. You know, that's what everybody wants nowadays.
Everybody wants air conditioner for the babies.
And if that air conditioner goes out, it's got to go back to the dealer, and that's a major repair.
And we went to leasing this year, right? We went to
Yes,
leasing to try.
this will be the second year that the district has not purchased buses. We are just continuing our lease program with what we had already in line.
And that costs about,
That number I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I had 14.
Probably.
50,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, 14, yeah. So, like, literally, we're trying to cut those costs down so that we're not adding to this deficit.
Correct.
Any questions on that?
Well, I mean, leasing the bus, you're just decreasing your maintenance fees, I mean, that
Yeah.
part of it, I understand. But you're also costing some jobs too, which is not a great thing. I had one other question, I'm sure somebody has probably thought this, just didn't ask it. And this is a hindsight. can you buy future diesel? Like, what I'm saying is like, let's just say that, you know, you knew this war might be coming on, that kind of thing. And I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong at all, I'm just saying for the future. You know, I know in the past that we bought massive amounts of diesel, you know, for our generators and things just ahead of time to lock in a price, you know, for a period of time. And I know also when you got to spend some money too. So I don't know, I mean, was that?
I have.
It may not be anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
like a
I'm just-
forever
I mean,
stamp?
Brian,
Postage
you
stamp?
store it, you store it, or does
Forever
it store it at the facility?
Yeah, like you just, you book it, basically,
Yeah.
you get a right.
Yeah.
You kind of book it ahead. and
That's
then you just-
not a bad idea, something to look into.
Well, I mean, it's not gonna help you now, but you don't never, you know, it happens again or whatever. And you may not be able to. I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah. Hey, we are open to checking out anything. So Leah, write that down.
Personally, you should have come up with that.
Yeah. Any other ideas? Yeah.
Hey, what about insurance on the bus?
Is that this? Is that where it is?
What is the question about insurance on buses?
The price of the insurance?
It gets a fleet rate. I don't remember the individual amount, but you know, we pay about $700,000 for insurance. That's property insurance, buses, everything, and it's within that same number.
Speaking of insurance, this has been the big one for us. So, property insurance has killed us. Back in 2009, we were paying $151,000 a year for our property insurance. And then, even in 2020, it had grown to $260,000. But then when Hurricane Laura hit, it was devastating. And if you look in 2022, 2023, 2024, that's basically our entire deficit right there. And I mean, we were looking at, I know Lauren's here probably like cringing, but I mean, it is what it is. We were looking at trying to shop it around, and people, I've sat in my office and people didn't realize you can't just go personally insure your schools. We talked about reducing the amounts. The locations of our schools are so close together that you could take, I mean, you could take one tornado and wipe out all of our buildings, and then where are you? We talked, what else did we talk about?
That was a big one, and you know, just raising our deductible was $100,000, and we talked about going to a higher amount. We talked about reducing, I think we have $100 million in coverage, and I might be way off on that.
You got full coverage now.
Yeah, I forgot where the value of our assets are. I think it's around $100 million. But I mean, we looked at insuring $60 million worth and kind of rolling the dice. But you know, it's nice to be able to sleep at night when you have a tornado going over your house, and knowing it's not. Even if it does take out everything, at least we can just rebuild. Rather than with like pools, we're not having everything insured. But I mean, even with reducing it to not full coverage, it was not much of a change on the rate. So that was also considered.
Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think you're getting a really large decrease this year, so.
Yay!
We like the increase.
Yes, we do. And we did have a speaker, any of the board members y'all want to, you know, pipe in, but we had a speaker at our conference who the insurance commissioner, who said that it's coming, you know, I mean, we're almost to the other side of this hurdle, but it's going to be a few years before we really see any real difference. Yes. And it's just one of those necessary evils, but that has been huge. And if you look at, I mean, just the difference alone there, it has eaten up so much of our general fund budget. So just as a whole, one of the comments that I read on Facebook was somebody wanted to see a line item of where does all of our expenditures go. This is as close as we can get to a line item, but of major maintenance and operation expenses. So property insurance, transportation repairs, electricity and utilities, telephone communication, water, sewer, garbage services, and fuel. That's how much we spent, and I just did a comparison for you. So 2009 compared to 2025, and then just the variance. So you can just see, and think about what you do at your house and how much your bills have gone up, that's just for the entire school system. I mean, every time I sign the invoice for those energy bills, I'm like, you know, and Mr. Wells gives them to the principals every month, and he's like, you know, and I know they're on their teachers, and they're trying to keep those lights off and those air conditioners pulled down. It just costs a lot of money to run buildings.
And we run the outside lights to deter
Okay.
vandalism. So a light costs $20 a month. I think that's well worth the price of insuring the building for not getting vandalized.
Yeah, I've gotten some comments about the lights here, but I mean, those lights are here on purpose. It's to keep everyone safe. We have a lot of activity going on the junior high and high school campus with athletics back and forth. It's to keep everyone safe. It's to keep people from messing things up. It's to keep them from you know, breaking into your school and tearing up your things and destroying your property.
And if they do break in, we got lights on and the cameras, we have much better image of them. So.
Because Mr. Wells got LED put in, so that made a difference too.
Absolutely.
It's brighter.
Absolutely, it is brighter because they are LED lights.
Yes.
And the extra lighting that was put around all the schools, that was through energy. It did not cost the school board anything except just a small increase in the utility bills for each campus.
Who does your garbage services? I'm just curious.
Garbage.
Waste Connections of Louisiana.
Okay. There's but I mean,
Do you know somebody cheaper?
there's just, well, there are other people who are doing it. We shuffled up a bunch. I mean, after I bought the nursing home, I was able to take it from like $5,000 a month down to like maybe $1,500, $2,000.
Send us the people. Yeah, we'll look at it.
And I know too, just from at the mill, I mean, sometimes you use one garbage company for a while, and that bill just steadily increases, and then you make a phone call, it changes. If you change companies, you see that amount go down, but it will slowly creep back up. But I can say Waste Connections compared to the one that we, Waste Management, I mean, it has gotten better.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think you almost have to play their game as well.
We're not above it. We'll do it.
But, you know,
Yeah.
but I do see a positive. I'm assuming that in 2009, that was 5 days a week on diesel, on fuel.
No,
We were already past.
we were already past it, yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Well, y'all done a good job with that then.
Yeah, we really have. I mean, we really work hard. We really do. I had a thought though. So the other thing about the waste thing is people come and put their stuff in our trash cans.
Everywhere.
That is a problem. It's not public. It's public school, but not public trash. All right, you can go. So another thing just to highlight here is our salaries. And so in 2009, the salaries for the district represented 62% of the total budget. This does not include benefits because benefits are largely not within our control because the government tells us how much insurance and retirement and all that's going to be, and they change that on us without any warning. Or they warn us, they just don't give us any say in it. Compared to 2025, which dropped to 52%. And I say that just to let you know that the operating costs are definitely outweighing the human capital expenses. And so what we have done is aggressively utilize grants to take on our personnel costs. So as many positions as we can put in grants, we do, so that we can cover those essential responsibilities and pull those out of the general fund so that we can try to make ends meet with our general fund. And so a lot of aggressive grant writing to try to cover those salaries for that. This is huge. So healthcare obligations, Jenna, get ready. This is Jenna's world in payroll. So for our active employees, and this is something we do not have any control, like they'll just spike our numbers. Do you want to talk? You want to just? Yeah. You need to introduce it and then you talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so our active employees, Healthcare obligations in 2009 were $688,000 compared to $1.6 million in 2025. And then our retirees' health benefits, because anybody who's ever worked for us, who retired for us, we are still paying their health care. That is one of the perks of working for the school system. We are still paying your health care. And so in 2009, it was $786,000 compared to $1.3 million right now.
So I'm kind of a low man on the totem pole, but I do the payroll and deductions, and if there's one thing, and I'm also right across the hall from Nikki, so I hear things whether I want to hear them or not. But one of the big things that I have paid the most attention to is because I put in the salaries and the deductions for your health care, okay? Well, it just so happens that I've had several retire in the last couple of weeks, and I'm just curious. You know, we're talking about the deficit, everybody's trying to figure out how to cut money. I just want to give y'all some examples of things that are easy to understand, because I don't think a lot of people sometimes can just see it just in basic economics, okay? We had somebody retire on March the 30th, okay? She was paying out of her paycheck every month $871 for her family coverage for health insurance. We were paying $1,372, okay? That is per month, all year long. I want you to think about every employee that has OGB in the system, okay?
Office of Group Benefits is our insurance company.
Okay, and she did her time, she deserves that. But after she retired, she is now paying $811 out of her check every month, and we are paying $2,464 a month for one person that is retired. So not only is she retired and we are paying that on her, but now we're going to be paying on the person that replaces her. Then I want you to think about all of the people that are retired. Multiply that number by 12 months every year. I just got Dina off myself to run random numbers the other day just because I wanted a roundabout idea. It's like 1.33 million on retirees per year, 1.5 million on active employees. And I'm not saying anything about retirees because, once again, you've done your time and you've done that. But I wanted to know, for my basic understanding, about what we're paying out. And that's not anything we can control. That's the Office of Group Benefits. So we are up to 75% of that person's, that retirees, that's how much we're spending on their insurance. Y'all, that's a huge amount. And we are responsible for that. So when people want to know like where the grant money is going and where all the money is going, I mean, that is huge to me. I'm like, we need to be screaming OGB from the rooftops. I'm your average everyday person. Even if I didn't work for the school system, I would have wanted to hear that because that just makes everything so much more clear to me. Just one more example, okay? I had somebody that retired at the age of 44 who is now working a whole nother full-time job at a bank in town. I know her personally, love her to death, but she retired at 44 years old. So I want you to think about how long we're going to be paying her health insurance, okay? While she's working an entirely another job, a whole other job. She pays $360 a month, and we're paying $1,722 a month for however long, until she hits Medicare, and it drops.
It drops in Medicare.
So that's at least 20 years on somebody that's been gone, you know, and we've probably replaced twice since then. So to me, that was just a huge number, and I just was like, you know what, that's something that anybody can understand. It's a lot of money.
Any questions? It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so when people say, oh, let's vote down the millage and let's take down the school system, we're talking about all the people who've put in their time and they've put in their, and they've contributed. We're talking about kids, we're talking about employees, we're talking about former employees, we're talking about everyone who has ever contributed to our school system. And so there's a lot that goes into it. Where does that come out? It doesn't come out of our grants. Anything extra, it comes out of our general fund. And so that's where the money comes from. So our critical budget realities here, last year, we sat down and made cuts. David made me be very, I think we made more than $500,000 worth of cuts, but he made me say just 500,000. So we made cuts. And then we had the problem with the change in the MFP number, and then when there were some issues with the budget and how much we had budgeted with property insurance that went down. So we're looking at a current year deficit of $795,000. But I do want you to know, we're not broke. We still have a fund balance here. It's just that we cannot continue to have a negative balance. So we're not broke, we're not turning in the keys. We have to plug the holes. We have to continue doing that. And so we're sitting down and we're trying to figure out, we're gonna have to make more cuts again this year. And we're sitting down, and as you lose students, you have to cut teachers, you have to cut positions, you have to consolidate more bus routes, you have to try to figure out where you are. We're looking at how do we cut another $700,000. I will say that one of the big topics that we're talking about, because our enrollment is so low, is should we continue to operate our 3-year-old program at Kelly? And right now, while our numbers are so low, could we temporarily close down that building and put our 3-year-olds with our 4-year-olds at the pre-K? Just to save, I think we have it estimated at about $198,000, and that's a tough decision. That's like closing a school, and that's not something that anybody wants to do. And so, but we're seriously having those conversations because it's not something we want to do, but it's something that we may have to do because we can't continue to operate in this deficit. So I say that because we are trying to be transparent, and we are trying to put the feelers out there and let you know that these are very tough conversations that we're having. We don't know what we're going to do now, but it is on the table for us to discuss until these enrollment trends reverse. What we're hoping is that the people who think they want to homeschool are like, oh no, not really. You know, let's send them back, and then we go back to a place where we can get those numbers back up. But we don't know. I mean, 2 years ago, you could have never told me we would be declining in this. We were preparing for growth, and now we are not. I will say that with the restructure, at least this way, we're able to evenly divide. And so in cutting a teacher, we're able to say, okay, we can cut 1 at 2nd grade, cut 1 at 1st grade, cut 1, as opposed to having to close down another, you know, and have too many over here and not enough over here. So those are conversations that we are having, but they're not fun. I mean, I don't know anybody in my office that's getting any sleep right now. Every time we wake up, all we're thinking about is budget at this point. Any questions?
West Carroll's closing 2 or 3 schools, do you remember? 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe a third.
Every superintendent that I talk to around is either closing or has closed a school. Yes.
So if we close Kelly, like how much savings are we talking?
We have it estimated at about $198,000. Because we can braid funds with the Head Start grant and the other grants that we have in one building, we wouldn't have to operate another cafeteria. A custodian could share, a secretary could share, and operating, that's just kind of what we're looking at there. That's what we're looking at.
Well, let's not forget that we also could close the preschool and put the preschool at Kelly.
That was my question, as somebody who has a kid, I'm just young and I'm going to have another one in a few years, it always, like, the thought of having all of the babies on that big campus really stresses, like, the thought of that scares me. Just the buses, and they're little humans, and then if anything's going to happen, I'm going to the campus with the most people. Like, truthfully, in the world that we live in, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, very valid point.
I would rather the second option, put them by themselves, away from everybody. Versus.
I don't know that the savings would be as great if we did that, because then you'd have to open up another cafeteria. Right now, we have the cafeteria at the high school that just satellites the food over. So we'd have to look at that. But yeah, we definitely can look at those. So, yeah.
So don't they have a teacher shortage anyway? How are we going to cut teachers?
Well, the goal is always to do it through attrition, which is if you have teachers who are leaving or retiring, we just don't fill those spots. So that is absolutely the way that we hope to do it, but that you don't want anyone to lose their job. You're just hoping that if teachers are leaving, that you just don't fill those spots.
Do we have a projection of what that's going to do to class number sizes?
We are looking at those, and we have them estimated at around 19 to 23. And of course, the littles are a little bit not as big, and the 23 would be up in the 5th to older.
Second grade at Columbia already has 20, 22.
Those numbers are not. Those numbers are below 20.
Jay has 20 in his class.
Yeah. The second grade does not go above 20 in our projections. Now, if the numbers go up, wonderful. We can hire more teachers, because if we have more kids, then we have more MFP coming in. We can afford more teachers. So that would be a wonderful problem to have. My concern is that we've been going in a negative trajectory, and so you can't necessarily project in a growth. You have to project at least stable or kind of worry, are you going to go down? So we're projecting at a stable right now. So.
But legally, class size.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taught 25.
Yeah, legally 25 is the limit. Yeah, you can. Yes. For little ones, yes. And it gets up to 30 with the big ones, yes. It's just not ideal. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah.
And I will say, last year, I had 5 classes, we did have a huge influx of kindergartners. I was able to hire a teacher, but by mid-year, it had slowly went back down. You know, so I mean, that's just kids moving in and out, homeschool, you know, just different things. So, I mean, right now, we have steadily declined, so if you do hire a teacher, it's not to say those kids are gonna stay there.
That's right. That's right. Very, very transient. So. Good points. So I'll just end with this. This millage is, and funding isn't about something new. It's not about expanding our footprint, or it's just about survival. If we fail to renew this millage, the gap in our budget will quickly become too wide to close. We've got to look past any individual frustration, whether it's with a specific situation or a particular person, and remember what's truly at stake. This school system is ours. It's our community's largest employer. It's our main gathering place for families, and we're facing a critical choice. We can either work together to strengthen it, or we can stand by as it falls apart. And y'all, we don't want it to fall apart. You know, I mean, I showed you the numbers at the beginning. It's a small amount for us to put together to continue building our community. I can't stand by and just watch everybody move away or just not be here. And if you don't like me, it's fine. I can take it. I have grown some very thick skin over the past 5-6 years. Very thick skin. But it's not fair to the kids, and it's not fair to the people who work and depend on this school system for their livelihood, and this community and this workforce who's going to depend on an educated workforce. And so, next slide. So, our election is June the 27th. There are the 2 propositions that are both renewals. One is a 5.39 and the other is 11.32. They both are for the utilities, maintenance, building upkeep, bus transportation, daily operating cost. Early voting is the 13th through 20th of June. If you're not registered to vote, please do that. We found that in the last election. There are a lot of people who've moved in who aren't registered to vote here. Your voter registration may not. You can check that on the Go Vote app. It's very easy. You can even change it online by May 27th, or go by the Registrar of Voters. Make sure that you're registered to vote. To be sure, if you have college kids, high school kids, or whatever who are 18, make sure that they're registered to vote. We need every vote to make this pass. I know, I mean, we got embarrassed in the last election this fall and know just how important it is for every vote to be out there. So hopefully I've given you enough information to let you know how important this is.
Nick,
Yeah,
could I say something?
yes.
I really don't know how much more transparent you can be than this. This school system is our livelihood. Our children are our livelihood. If you can't look at this and realize that we need every penny, we're not wasting a dime, that we need every penny that we can muster up to to provide a quality education for our children in this parish, then I don't know what anybody else can tell you. There's nothing we can do for you if you can't understand this right here. We've got a very good superintendent. We've got a very good group of administrators. Our teachers are outstanding. Our system is not just a good system, it's an excellent little school system. When I say little, I don't mean little, it's an excellent school system, period. We should all be ashamed of ourselves if we can't support our children in a manner that can give them the education that they deserve and that this community deserves to give them. I love this community. I moved here 35 years ago, raised my children here, have grandchildren here, and will continue to be here. But the thing that bothers me most is I don't know why the attitudes of this community has changed. I don't know if it's because of social media and people that don't know what they can talk about are given a platform to speak lies and things that just aren't truths. Maybe that's what it is, I don't know. But I know this much. Our children deserve everything they're getting. You're talking about maybe $9 a month for the average household. $9 a month is all we're saying if this passes. We shouldn't be asking. I mean, this should be a given. This was 40 years ago. The community stood up and said we needed this. 40 years ago. The same thing. We're not asking for more. We're asking for the same thing that we'd asked for 40 years ago. Believe you me, our children deserve this. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Beck.
Flash your
Good evening. I would like to say I'm with Randy Tepper. He said he's been here 34 years. I've been here 50, a lot of years, 50 something. And as I can remember, we had, as back in the day with Mr. Moore, he always explained the millage. And at that time, he said, you're just paying 10 cents out of every dollar, something like that. So we didn't mind it because we saw where it was going. And maybe you did a beautiful job explaining tonight some things you brought out. I didn't quite understand myself. I didn't understand it when I was voting then, but they told us that it was for our schools, and we wanted our schools to grow. So we all want our schools to grow now. We did then, and we want it now. And I didn't realize that many students had moved away from here. But that's the, like I say, the private, the homeschool, and moving. But we still got to take care of the ones that's left. So I'm up for it, and I encourage everybody else to get on board.
Thank you.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it's not like an individual is gonna have to write a check for $100. It's all within your property taxes and stuff, so it's not necessarily even gonna notice it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just a renewal.
It's just a renewal. I mean, some people put it in escrow, like you pay it with your house note. Some people you pay to the end of the year. Like, I mean, I'm not sure how I know we pay ours at the end of the year, but I'm not sure if that's for my house or for my other land. So, but I mean, yeah. So, if anybody everybody does it differently.
So what happens to the kids that are left if it does not pass?
If it does not pass, then
We got 2 years.
we got 2 years
I watched Monroe City School Board have the same type of meeting yesterday online.
on Mother's Day.
Yeah, on Mother's Day, 6 p.m. And they have exactly the same kind of numbers that we do. They're just bigger. And their timeline, I think they got $9 million per year on that tax, and they got a $20 million fund balance. So 2 years are gone if it doesn't pass.
You know, I talked to our attorney today. I'm telling you, every superintendent is struggling right now because everybody is losing enrollment. And I said, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do if we continue going? And he said, how big is your high school? And I was like, well, I mean, he said, how many kids? And I said, I guess 500. He said, you may have a K-12 school before it's all over. And I was like, oh my God, you just said that. You know, that, and I don't even want to think about that. I don't even want to think about that. You know, we're struggling to think about closing down one school, you know. I mean, we don't even want to think about that. We just want to continue moving forward and just let's push through this. So, I mean, it's a scary time. It is a scary time. Good question.
And this was not a new thing. I mean, back in 22, I believe, if you look up the audit report, there's a note disclosure talking that we're going to have $1 million deficits if the state does not change how they fund public education. And, I mean, we're not far from that number, 795 versus $1 million. I mean, we're kind of close. I mean, and one thing I mentioned to Nikki and I hadn't heard you talk about was the hub and how great that is. And that's from an outsider coming in Caldwell Parish and loving the parish and falling in love with it and wanting to invest in it. And not invest to get money back, but I guess win souls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's not a bigger calling than that. So, I mean, people from the outside see it. And something else that Monroe said last night, the superintendent, he said, what should be uniting us is for some reason dividing us. And he said, I have no idea, I've never seen that before. And that's what we have here as well. So we just have to.
And I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're doing a good job and can't fight the negativity. And it may be social. I mean, I don't know. You know, because I think that the people in here are doing a good job, as evidenced by the growth that we have. So, they work hard.
The people in here are voting for the tax, the millage, sorry,
Yeah.
wrong word.
Yeah, right.
You know, you're preaching to the choir.
I know, yeah. Well, and so, you know, we're YouTubing this and we'll put that out, and we're trying to be very aggressive with a YouTube, you know, not YouTube, but a Facebook message every Friday of getting, you know, the common misconceptions out there. And so I was waiting to hear what questions we had here so we could put that out there because, you know, a lot of people don't want to ask, you know, or don't want to come. They want to talk, but they don't want to. So hopefully they can watch it from the privacy of their phone, you know, at home and just get the right information. But the goal is that if every one of you can go and give the right information and then just get the vote out, that we can come out on top. So, but thank you for pointing that out.
Do we ever have anyone from the school system or the surrounding school systems go down to Baton Rouge to talk at the Capitol and advocate for education?
So our organization, our superintendent organization, it's Louisiana Association of School Superintendents, actually expanded this year to include all administrators so that we could collectively afford to have an, what do you call them?
Lobbyist.
Lobbyist. So we can have a lobbyist. And so we have a full-time lobbyist down trying to fight for us, because what we have learned over the past couple of years is we're too busy doing our job to go down and try to influence legislators. So we do now. For the past 2 years, we have been reorganizing to try to fight. And my group, I have a group, me of state superintendents, is constantly going, but we're constantly trying to fight. And so our Neil Reiser and Glenn Walnut get text messages from me nearly every week trying to address this. So yeah, absolutely, we do. But it won't hurt anybody. Y'all tell them we've got to increase MFB funding. We've got to fund our school systems. If they had been giving us this increase, we would not even be having this conversation at this point.
Well, when they took that extra 900 from you, they threw us back
That's
farther
true.
than 2009.
That's true.
Does anybody remember what it was that you got, like in 2000 for the MFP for a student? Does
You
anybody?
can only go back to 2016 online.
I can look back through our financial records, not the MFP records that come out of Baton Rouge and see how much we got.
But I mean, it threw us back even farther than what we are now.
Yeah, you're right.
Talk to your legislators, you know, call them.
Yeah.
The governor does not like public schools. He wants everything to be private. And the people that we meet at the conventions and stuff, they're like, his mother would be rolling in her grave. Because they know him, you know. And he wants everything to be private. But you've got so many people down in South Louisiana, they have all their private schools. So now they don't pay for their kids to go to school. Your tax dollars pay for their kids to go to school. So that's what's hurting us. They don't care about public schools. They don't want them to fail. They do.
You do. You almost feel like they want
put
us to
so
fail.
much,
Yeah. The new
many
grading
rules.
system.
Yeah, they put so much rules on the public school system that it's impossible to, for them to succeed.
They'll tell you, we want you to do this, we want you to do this, but then they don't give you any money to do it. They want you to bring it out of your pocket to do it, but they don't help you with it. But you have to provide it for them. I mean, I'm telling you, they just want you to fall flat on your face and go away.
I'm gonna say, I'm kind of a common sense person, I'm probably the largest private employer here. And Ms. Morris, whenever I was going to school here, always used to push us about cause and effect. And right now, the school system is a cause and effect because I can talk about myself and what's going on. I don't necessarily agree about the Delta part, because I mean, I've met with them talking about different things. I would say this, what hurts us here is that our industry. We don't have growth, okay? I mean, and I can talk about myself. I have a hard time. Right now, I spend thousands of dollars per month bringing nurses and CNAs from outside of our area to work for me, because I can't get them here. It's not a matter of them not being here, because we've got some of the highest rates in the state that we're paying right now. It's just, there's just not the bodies, okay? And a lot of that's got to do with the declining part of it. Now, I do hope that with green fuels, and I do believe it will, it's going to help you. I'm the same way with our business. If my census goes down, I've got to decrease my staff. Some of the things that you were talking about a little while ago about the insurance paying for the employees, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. And the reason I say that is because teachers, in my book, aren't paid enough to begin with.
Absolutely. It's
So
one
I
of the
think
perks.
a lot of teachers are working because it's just in their heart. It's like a nurse, it's in their heart. It's what you were called to do by the Lord. And I think that they look at the insurance as their future, okay? At least I've got something that I'm gonna have going on. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I do understand the money, where it's going at.
Yeah.
But I do think that we have got to stay behind. I mean, again, if you've got two parents working in a home to bring in money, and one of them loses their job, okay, that's what you're talking about if you lose this 40-year deal. Okay, now how are you gonna make up for that? You're gonna start charging 5 or 6 credit cards, you're gonna get upside down on everything you're doing. And yeah, I mean, people may see $5.2 million. In this day, in this economy, you can burn through that in 2 years, just like you just said.
Absolutely.
So I would hope that everybody, that's got any sense would want to do this. Now, hopefully we can get a big business in here that's gonna start doing whatever, but I mean, I have to have this school system. If the school system's not here, I'm not gonna be here. If I'm not here, there's 300 people that aren't got jobs.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, whatever we need to do to make this thing go, we need to do it. And I would also say too, years ago when we had the big tax deal we were doing, I would invite, I'll pay for it. If you want to, we'll advertise whatever. But bring them back to nursing home. Bring all business leaders. Bring the kids up there. Let's take a big picture. Let's do a big thing talking about who supports this. I got sued last time we did that. I don't care. Okay? I mean, we want to do this for the parents. Let it go. I just don't think we get enough out. I'm not a social media person. She had to tell me we had to meet tonight because I don't know. I don't see. I don't do that mess because it's just mess. I mean, there's a lot of people who are extremely insecure with their lives and they just feel like they gotta vent something, just to say something, so they say, hey, I'm your world. Well, that's fine, you know, but I mean, there's other people who don't have time for that. And whatever we can do to help get this word out and make it go, because the Randys and the Garys and the Barons and everybody else is, you know, I challenge anybody, run for their spot. If you're not happy with what's going on, run for their spot. Please. You know, Nikki, I can't say whether you're doing a great job or not. I think you're doing an excellent job because of what you provided tonight. But if you're not happy with that, then run against her. You know, find a whatever, you know? I mean, it's just, it's time to put up or shut up. You know, and I'm just sorry to be that blunt, but it's just how I feel.
Tell us how you live, Bill.
On the health insurance comment, the problem with OGB is they're sitting on, and this is a 2-year-old number, I don't know what it is today, they're sitting on an extra $70 million in reserves, over their required reserves, and yet they keep on going up. I mean, that's a problem.
They're ready for a rainy day, it's not.
I don't know what their methodology is, but it seems like we're getting posed. Every time there's a state mandated pay raise that's funded through Baton Rouge, it magically, you know, we get that in July, and then magically in December, our health insurance rates go up right about the same amount. It's like they match it. So.
And we depend on people who need health insurance because we know that's going to make them want to come teach or come work for the school system. There's a lot of people who don't do it for the money and they do it because of the benefits and the retirement. And we know that. And it's something we're happy to provide. And so by sharing those numbers, it's not because we're mad that we have to do it. It's just that's where the money goes. You know, so when people want to say you don't manage your money well, that's where the money goes. I'm just being honest. That's where it goes. You know, you have to pay it. You don't have a choice. You know, in doing that.
So if this doesn't pass, does that affect any insurance costs, like for retirees?
Yeah, exactly. I asked that same question to our attorney today. I said, what happens if this doesn't pass and we keep losing students and we can't afford our bills? Like, how are we going to continue to pay our retirees health insurance? You know, because people who are not retired, they would have to go find a job somewhere else. How do we pay that? And he said, I guess your whole sales tax check would have to go to that. And I said, oh my God. I mean, these are just like, what do you do? What do you do to pay when you don't have? And that was the next question was, how big is your high school? You're going to end up being a K-12 school. You know, so those are the questions. I was just like, what do you do? What do you do when you can't pay? So even people who are retired need to be concerned about this millage, you know, being passed. So, good question.
That's how I would sell it.
Yeah. I mean, it's bigger than being not liking me. You know, it's bigger than being mad at a teacher or mad at somebody who didn't, you know, do something or made you mad. It's bigger than that. This is an entire school system of kids and teachers and people and livelihood. So, anybody else? Barry?
Give it up for Nikki. Two things that she didn't address. One is the superintendent's contract. She does not make $200,000. When I came on the board in 1993, when Mr. Turner was there, he was making roughly about $8,000 or $9,000. When Ms. Tillett came, she was making $80,000. She only had an increase of $9,000. When Nikki came on, I think it was $94,000, $95,000, $98,000. Okay, and I have always believed on every contract, every subsequent contract, that a superintendent deserved a raise. I went to Nick and told her that I was going to get with the board to give her a raise. She didn't want the raise. Randy, which is the most conservative that's on there, agreed that the superintendent deserved to be paid for what she's worth. So I think, it's public record. You can go and see what she made. It's not $200,000.
Not on the transparency website.
Yeah, it's not $200,000. So people are holding that against her. Well, if you can pay her $200,000, you can do all this other stuff. Hogwash. It's just a flat out lie. The second thing is that if you come to any Caldwell Parish School Board meeting, you have a right to speak to the board. Okay, but there's a process that you go through to speak to the board. And how do I know this? Because I've been on it for 33 years. And I have never not let anybody come to the board and speak, even when my colleagues didn't want them to speak, because I feel like they have a right to chastise us. So, Randy, I think you can agree that we have never denied anybody the opportunity to speak at any board meeting. So, before you listen to all of the lies and all this other stuff, just come and ask one of us. Gary Castles, Randy Rentz, Johnny Fallon, Belinda Ballard, Maria Bass, Hershey, you served on the board. So before you just criticize and go against the future of these kids, just come and talk to us. Brian, you know, we don't have a problem talking to anybody. You may not like what you're going to hear, but we don't have a problem talking to anybody. So rather than hold it against this person here, and bear in mind, I didn't vote for her. Okay? I didn't vote for her, but I can tell you this. She can tell you that the person that she can lean on the most is me. Because I support her 100% and I know that she's done a great job. So I don't want her to be unfairly criticized because people don't know what the facts are. Again, you can come to the school board office.
It's in the audit report.
It's in the audit report. David, you're a CPA, not making near as much money as what you could be making. All of the individuals that's in the central office work their ass off. Okay, work hard for everybody. You can call, they'll give you the information right then and there. You may not disagree or agree with every decision they make, because I don't. But Nikki will tell you, we talk about everything that needs to be talked about. So I'm saying all that to say this. Before you say no, find out what the facts are. And if you find out what the facts are, and then you want to say no, I'm fine and okay with that. But do not hold the tax or the millage against this individual one person. She's only one person. The board allows her to do a lot of things. 99% of it we agree with. 99% of it we participate in. But at the end of the day, please don't hold it against. And I'll answer the question. If the millage fails, schools are going to close. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Schools are going to close, and then you're going to be cutting employees. That's the only option we have, Brian.
I agree. That's what we're trying to get at.
And the only way we can fix it is make the cuts that we're making, doing the best that we can. But what I don't want to happen, I love boxing, but I like to box fair. I don't like people to go out and tell lies about stuff that's not true, and then you want to hold it against the school system. That's not fair. It's disingenuous, and it's borderline mental problems. Again, you can come and ask anybody whatever it is that you want. You can find out what information you want. Again, if you want to find out what her salary is, go to the school board office tomorrow. Check it out in the audit report. So if you vote no because you feel like she's making $200,000, I think you're making a mistake. Again, Nikki, you did a great job. You got a QR code. I'll let you explain what that is.
Yeah, if you have questions that you didn't want to ask or you think about later, you can scan that and send them to us. They're anonymous. So we'll do our best to answer those. I don't know who I'll send the answer to. I just thought about that. I won't send the answer to. We'll put it on Facebook. Yeah.
Your YouTube.
We'll address it in our video. So
That'd be good.
So, thank y'all for coming. Thank you for coming to get the right information. I'll be here for a little bit if you have any other clarifying